Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to part 2 out of 3 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out the website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, August 21st, 2025. This is my second of 3 shows today, and I'm really looking forward to my guest. This is his 4th appearance on our show. He's a friend of mine, friend of the shows, and I'm looking forward to talking a little Tigers baseball with him. And his name is Sean Baligian, a Woodward Sports host with Maz, and he's also the host of his Off the Air podcast, and he's a longtime play-by-play voice of Wayne State Warriors football in Michigan. And we will talk to Sean right now. Good afternoon, Sean. How are you?
Oh, Chris, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. So doing very well. Thank you.
Congratulations on joining Woodward Sports in July and working alongside Maz, Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, you know, I was there when the network first launched.
Yes.
And then I had to leave for a few years, and it was nice to be able to come back. And it's a lot of fun. You know, we try to have fun in the morning, and hopefully it shows.
Thoughts on working with your co-host, Maz?
You know, I've known Maz forever. I really have. It's 25 years now. You know, we first started working together in 2015, but we had known each other before then, even longer than that. So to be able to do the show with him and 2 bright, young, and up-and-comers in JB and KG, it's a heck of a lot of fun, man. And especially, you know, this time of season, you know, where college football is getting ready to kick off in just a couple days, and the pros we're that close away. So it's a heck of a lot of fun.
How much would you say Woodward Sports has changed in the last 5 years? And I'll be honest with you, I watch more programming on live streaming than I do on TV nowadays.
I think a lot of people do. I think when it started in 2020, I don't think its time had come just yet. And now so much has moved to digital. It really has. So much has moved to digital. So I think that's the way that a lot of people get their information. I always used to say, you know, all the years that I was working in sports radio, Monday morning was like being at the water cooler, you know, and I think for a lot of people now, they make it part of their Monday morning tradition, their place to vent, their place to listen to opinions about what happened the day before or the night before, or maybe even what will happen that particular night if the Lions, for example, are on Monday Night Football. I think that's become a destination for so many people like yourself. Yeah, it's amazing to me how much stuff I catch, you know, online, and how much online digital information there is out there.
And also, too, it's not just the Detroit show. Anyone internationally can watch it, too.
Yeah, you would be amazed how many people tap in. It's, you know, when it really hit me was last fall, when, you know, the Vikings and the Lions were finishing the season the way they did, and they were having, you know, that winner take all game that we had late in the year, and all the Viking fans that kind of jumped in the chat and told us what, you know, they were surely going to do to the Lions and everything. And so it was amazing, even with all the injuries last year, for the Lions to kind of finish out that division the way that they did. I mean, I remember talking to you about it. Boy, you just can't overcome that many injuries and hope to go win a Super Bowl. But I think, like everybody else, we were kind of hoping to hold off the Vikings, and then let's see what happened. It wasn't meant to be. Make no mistake about it. Washington took them out to the woodshed, but they're relatively healthy right now. So let's see what happens.
What are your thoughts on the backup quarterback situation briefly with the Lions? I kind of know Kyle Allen from his time with Buffalo, and to me, I think Kyle Allen should really be considered the number 2 quarterback based on the play in the preseason.
I don't think there's any debate. No ifs, ands, or buts. The only argument that I hear people make for Hendon Hooker is he was a 3rd-round choice. Well, who cares? Kyle Allen has outperformed him in every way, shape, and form. Now, the question is, do you keep Hendon Hooker as your number 3? That's the biggest question. But roster spots are hard to come by. There's a lot of conversation. Do you keep an extra linebacker? Do you keep an extra guy up front? Do you keep an extra wide receiver? Because all of a sudden this wide receiver room is looking pretty good. So in that regard, I'm not sure that you end up keeping a 3rd quarterback. But yeah, no doubt about it. Kyle Allen has definitely distinguished himself as the number 2 quarterback in this team based on play. No doubt about it.
How much of an impact did Ben Johnson have on Jared Goff? And do you feel Goff will be okay without Ben Johnson? Because I know there's similarities between Brian Daboll and Josh Allen, and they thought, okay, Daboll left the Bills, Josh Allen would regress, but Josh Allen obviously hasn't. Do you feel the same way with Goff?
As long as you keep Jared Goff clean, Jared Goff can pick you apart. And Chris, no quarterback likes pressure. None. Now, there's not one quarterback that says, bring me pressure, bring me pressure. But the way quarterbacks deal with pressure is a differentiating fact. And I think Jared Goff has shown he doesn't do as well with pressure as other quarterbacks do, especially that pressure that comes up the middle. And that's a big question for the Lions this year. That's the one thing I've cautiously said for months. You can't just take one of the best centers in the league off your roster and expect everything to run smoothly. I think there's going to be a period of adjustment. I think there's going to be a period of growth. I think there's going to be a period where the guys on that offensive line are going to have to get acclimated to one another. And I think that could probably be said for Jared Goff. If you keep him clean, he's okay. I think the Lions have done a good job of loading him up with weapons as well. They have 2 different weapons in the backfield, obviously in Montgomery and Gibbs. Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo. I think like everybody else, I'm really excited to see what rookie Isaac Tesla does. That's really intriguing. Tim Patrick's still around, the change of pace that a guy like Khalif Raymond brings and, his value, especially on the special teams. So, they're with a ton of weapons. And I didn't even mention Sam Laporta. I think people forget what a weapon he can be as well. So, so much of it, like the National Football League shows every year, like your Philadelphia Eagles showed last year, the National Football League is the trenches. It is. Can you protect your quarterback? Can you get after the opposition's quarterback? And Philly has some of the best trenches in the league, and certainly the Lions want to get to that point.
The Eagles did luck out when Jason Kelce retired. Cam Jordan has stepped in there and done a really good job, and the center is a huge part of that offensive line. So that would be kind of a concern with the Lions. Is there any chance Ragnow could consider retiring? Is there any chance?
I don't think so. No,
you don't think so? He's done?
No, he is. I'm sure he's been beat up for years. I think it gets to the point where it's just like, my body can't take any more of this. And I really think that was the dynamic after last season. Gosh, I remember 3 years ago having conversations with him, and it just, it seemed like every week it was like, is he going to be able to go? Is he going to be able to go? And he always answered the bell. That's a warrior, but he's a guy with a young kid. He loves the outdoors. I hope he has an opportunity to just go and enjoy life and get himself healthy and live a long and happy life.
Where do you rank him in terms of all-time great Detroit Lions? And do you feel the team one day will honor his number or retire it?
I think you have to include him in the conversation. I don't think there's any two ways about that. He really he was a warrior. I hope that's something that you consider. It's funny, we were talking about this the other day, Chris, when this era is all said and done, and I hope this era provides just one Super Bowl. Yeah, that's all I'm asking for. I'm not greedy. Just give me one Super Bowl. We've all been waiting our whole lives. My goodness gracious, there are going to be some guys that you're going to have to acknowledge, and there are going to be some guys that you're going to have to show some love to. And certainly Frank is near the top of that list as far as I'm concerned.
Right now, obviously, I was going to ask you, Sean, what are the big headlines right now in Detroit on Woodward Sports? Obviously, the Lions. Where do you rank the Tigers up there? Are they just right behind the Lions for media coverage?
Right behind the Lions, but way behind the Lions. The Lions are king in this town, period, end of story. Let there be no debate. I can't even believe that anybody would debate it around here, to be honest with you, Chris. People are excited about the Tigers. It looked like a few weeks ago.
I include myself.
I think a lot of people did, man. And all of a sudden, they kind of found themselves, and now they find themselves with a 10-game lead over not the team that everybody feared, mind you, but the Kansas City Royals, who were in for a big series this weekend, and with the team that everybody feared 10.5 behind. But as well as I do, it's 162 games. A lot can happen in the next month, and then the postseason is a whole different beast. You got to give credit to AJ Hinch. I don't know how they continue to do it. There are many holes in this roster. There are many holes in this lineup. There are many holes in the bullpen. There are many holes in the starting pitching staff. And yet somehow, some way, they find a way to win games. And so I think a lot of credit goes to AJ Hinch, no doubt.
I do like the moves of bringing in Charlie Morton from the Orioles so far, and Kyle, I think, is it Finnegan?
Finnegan.
He can either close or he can be the 7th or 8th inning guy. So I like those moves, but I really thought the Tigers missed out on adding another big bat to this lineup, because Riley Green and Torkelson at times can contribute, but then there's times where they go ice cold, and that's my concern about the playoffs.
Very streaky. There's no doubt about that. And as you know, pitching's at a premium. So you get yourself an extra bat that might be able to come alive at the right time. And I agree with that. And, the other guy that they added from Minnesota, Paddock, hasn't been very good. But, for all the whining that people did around here about not doing too much, I have to echo your sentiments. I mean, Charlie Morton has come in and done a really nice job. Something to be said about that been there, done that, savvy kind of veteran pitcher. And Finnegan's been, perfect. He really has been. It's been unbelievable what he's been able to do. And now all of a sudden you're back, and while some of the names have changed, you're feeling very good because you got him, you got Will Vest, last year's hero, Bo Brisky, kind of fell off and all that. But yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, listen, I don't know about you, Chris. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody else. I don't look at one team, including the Tigers, and say, wow, it's going to be tough to beat that team. And so I think because of that, there are a few teams in the American League that probably have to be feeling pretty good about themselves and feel that they've got a really good chance to punch their ticket to the World Series in 2025.
Toronto was hot there for about a month and a half, but they've kind of come back to earth as well. They're still in good position, but you don't want to peak too soon in Major League Baseball, and they've kind of come back a little bit, but I still expect the Jays to win the American League East. I'm not sold on Boston or the Yankees in that division. So you're right. There's a number of good teams. Even the Dodgers have had their struggles too as well. And the thing is, the Tigers had their bad period. I think they lost 13 out of 15 games. They still had a 5-game lead in the Central, and now it's back up to 10, and the Tigers are 76-53. I guess the expectations from the fan base and the media has kind of spoiled us in the last calendar year since they went on their run last August.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, you have to remember, at one point in time, they had a 0.02 chance of making the playoffs last August. It's amazing. And I think a lot of people, yours truly included, thought, okay, it was a magical little run. You had pitching chaos. You had bullpen days that really worked in your favor. There's no way that all of that can work in your favor again. Well, we were wrong, and they've been on a torrid pace all year. They've kind of set the pace in the division. They set the pace in the American League for a long, long time. And you mentioned Toronto. I think it would be in the best interest of the Jays and the best interest of the Tigers to hold on to this 1 and 2 spot. You don't want to find yourself in the position of having to play that extra series, no doubt.
Absolutely. One of the kind of disappointments on this team has been Jack Flaherty. I know there's been games where he's pitched awesome and the team hasn't scored, but then there's times he's been struggling. So if he can become their number 2, that will really help out as well. And Casey Mize has been struggling lately, but he's come out as well. So it's going to come down to pitching. This team's going to have to win a lot of games, 2-1 or 3-2, because I don't think their offense is consistent enough to put up 5-6 runs a game like the Dodgers offense.
I agree with you. And good, bad, and Jack bad, or good Jack and bad Jack is a reality. It seems like there's no middle ground. It seems like he's goes out there and looks like an ace, and it seems like when he goes out there and gets bombed, he gets bombed. It's almost like there's no in between. One man's opinion. I don't know how other people around here feel. I don't feel real safe with Casey Mize. I think that Casey Mize has put a lot of guys on base and has kind of been fortuitous to not have that come back and haunt him, if you know what I mean. And in the playoffs with good baseball teams, I think there's my concern is that they're going to make him pay. I think the Tigers really miss Reese Olson. I do. It would have been great if he was in there. Who knows? Maybe Charlie Morton could be the de facto number 2, that I think you need. Because that's one thing that I still fear about the Astros, even though the Tigers whooped them the last 3 games at Comerica Park. You can go out there with a strong 1-2 to start a series with Brown and Valdez. You can go out there and, boy, the Tigers don't have a 1-2 like that. Now, I firmly believe they have the best pitcher in baseball, but I'm talking about the 1-2. If Hunter Brown could go match Skubal like he did the other day, in that pitcher's duel where it was nothing forever, well, what if it's Houston that scratches that team, that run across? And then you have to turn around and face Valdez, and maybe you're down 0-2 in a series like that. So, that's a concern. But I think every team, Chris, if we're being honest, every team has a concern in one way, shape, or form.
I totally agree with you. What's the fans like with the ownership right now and management? Because all I keep hearing is they didn't do much at the trade deadline.
There isn't a lot of faith right now that ownership, Christopher Ilitch, is going to, open up the checkbook, so to speak, like his father did. I think we got spoiled in that era from, really you could say the start of that whole era was 2004 when they signed that big contract for Pudge. But, you had an owner that would go out and say, all right, let's make a big, bold move. All right, let's go get Victor Martinez. Let's go get, Prince Fielder. I'm willing to spend that type of money. And Chris, so far with both the Red Wings and the Tigers, it hasn't been a scenario like that. And so I think a lot of people have kind of taken the, well, I'll believe it when I see it approach with that. In fairness, I mean, the Javi Baez contract was big, but I think you know what I mean, that move that puts you over the top, that move that in free agency, you say, I've got to have this guy, or, especially with Tarek Skubal coming up next year. I don't think there's one person in the Tiger fan base. I'm serious. I don't think there's one person that thinks that the Detroit Tigers are going to pony up the money necessary to keep Tarek Skubal here after next year. We're all just kind of bracing ourselves for that reality. But who knows? Maybe Christopher could shock us all.
I would like to see them sign him, but I don't know if you want to give a pitcher a 10-year contract either.
Yeah, and you know what, with Boris being his agent, and you look at the market, especially I think the Wheeler contract is the one that's kind of dictate things. I mean, you're talking about a $50 million a year guy. You really are. I mean, whether it be 10 years, 500, whether it be 8 years, 400, I think you're talking about a $50 million a year type of guy. And I hope I'm wrong. I just do not think that's something the Tigers are going to do.
Who could be an X factor for this Tigers team in this stretch run? And what are your thoughts on the return of Alex Lang into that bullpen?
I'm a real big fan of Wencel Perez. I really am. I think this is a guy that then when the opportunity has provided itself, he has stepped up. He has done whatever has been needed of him. I really think that he's a guy. Unless you're following the Tigers day in day out, I'm not sure people understand, kind of his importance to the way things are going right now. It'll be interesting because they just came out. If Cobb comes back as well, Alex Cobb comes back, they're talking about using him out of the bullpen now, as opposed to just inserting him into the starting rotation. And you mentioned Lang. Yeah, this is a nice position to be in where you could get some bodies back and maybe they could help, because I think in my mind, what was such an overwhelming strength for the Tigers last year, and probably the biggest reason why they went on that late season run last year, I think that suddenly fast forward a year, I think that's a little bit of a concern, even with the back end of the bullpen being Vest and Finnegan.
What are your thoughts on the catching situation? And to me, I think Dylan Dingler has established himself as the number one catcher on this team.
No doubt about it. Let there be no mistake. You give him a breather every now and again. You don't want to, gas a guy, so to speak. I remember back in 2011, gosh, they played Alex Avila so much down the stretch. It was almost like, he was really out of gas by the end of the season, and et cetera. But make no mistake about it, Dylan Dingler is the legitimate catcher of the future. That's kind of been a laugh and a joke around here for the past decade, because it's like they've had so many catchers where they said, this is the guy, this is the guy. I think what we've seen out of Jake Rogers, great guy, character, catches a nice game and everything, he can't hit. So this is a scenario where, if Jake is content with being the number two catcher, I think that's his lot in life.
The last time Toronto and Detroit were battling out for the best record in the American League was way back in 1987. So it would be, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but it would be nice to see the Jays and the Tigers actually meet for the first time technically in the playoffs if things go according to plan.
Yeah, that was, great memories. I know your fans probably in the Guelph area don't like thinking about that too much. Great memories, Gibby's home run in Toronto, and then that last weekend series, and the ageless wonder Frank Tanana going out there and pitching a gem on that Sunday afternoon game. It seems like yesterday, but that's one thing I miss from the old AL East days, Chris. I really do. I miss the Jays being in the same division. There is a different vibe in Comerica Park when the Jays are in town. As you well know, there are a lot of Toronto fans that live in Windsor, and a lot of Toronto fans make the trek down the 401 to Comerica Park as well. So there's always a different vibe. It's a fun night when Toronto's in town, because I think the Canadian representation in the stadium. So who knows? Maybe with all this talk of realignment, I personally, on a selfish level, I would love it if the Tigers and the Jays ended up in the same backyard again, but we'll wait and see.
What's your thoughts on interleague play? I miss the old days where you don't play a National League team unless it's in training camp or in the World Series. Do you find it's kind of watered it down now?
Yeah, a little bit. I think the novelty of it is gone. The first few years, I really, really liked it, especially, we had season tickets when my boy was younger, and the only reason I got rid of them is when he went away to college in Chicago. But there was always, especially the first few years, oh wow, Jack, you've never seen the Padres, or you've never seen the Rockies, or whatever the case may be. I personally, I think the novelty has worn off a little bit. I really do. There's no excitement for me anymore. There just isn't. So, at the end of the day, I think that realignment is a good idea. I really do. And like everybody else, I'm intrigued to see what they might come up with.
For Major League Baseball expansion, obviously the teams I've heard about is Nashville as one of them. I also feel Montreal should have a team again, and in the future as well. I think Canada should have Montreal back.
I would love it. Please give them a better stadium. The Stade
Yes.
Olympique was, I mean, it was a trash. It really
Yeah.
was. It was a dump. But I had a chance to see a few games there. It was such a cool experience. I wish they would do it. I don't think they will. I think we all know that. I don't think they will. I think there's some lip service going on. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Salt Lake City gets a team, and I agree with you. Nashville. I think Nashville is a natural fit. But oh my goodness gracious, it would be so cool to see the Expos back. It really would.
And as for Miami, they've got a brand new stadium. They're still not drawing any flies. And the Tampa Bay Rays situation is probably worse than when the Expos were in their last few years in Montreal.
It was depressing going down to see a game, and that place is another dump. Obviously, the tragedy of last year aside, but before the tragedy happened, Tropicana Field was a dump. It was just a terrible place to see a game. It really was. There was no kind of energy or anything like that. It was a really weird dynamic. And no, I'm with you. It's unfortunate. I always think back to 1994 and Chris, I know you know this. I have family up in the Montreal area, and the excitement that they had, especially a year after the Habs won the Cup. It was like, wow, the Habs won the Cup last year. Could you imagine if the Expos, win a World Series a year later? And we'll never know what would have happened.
Totally agree with you. And I'm hoping one day they do get that stadium and ownership back there because Montreal has such a long history of baseball with the Montreal Royals and Jackie Robinson, and then with Tim Raines and Andre Dawson as well. And the Montreal Alouettes recently, the CFL, had a Montreal Expos night in Montreal for the Alouettes game, and that went over well. Those guys are still loved down in Montreal, so I'm hoping one day the right ownership and the right stadium and the Expos will be back as well. But I do feel Nashville will get a team, but Major League Baseball needs to address the Marlins and the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't
Yeah,
think you need two teams in Florida.
No, I agree. It's sad reality. Sometimes it's almost like the situation in Arizona in the National Hockey League. At some
Yes.
point in time, you have to admit defeat. You have to. You can't excuse it away anymore. And I mean, it took forever for them to admit defeat with the Coyotes, and they moved on, and rightfully so. But no, you're absolutely right. I think that we're getting very close to that scenario down in Florida.
Sean, if you've got a few more minutes, I just got a couple more quick questions I wanted to ask you. And this is big news in Detroit, and I kind of given up on this, but thoughts on the Red Wings finally retiring number 91 Sergei Fedorov and the Red Wings 100th anniversary since coming to Detroit from Victoria, BC in 1926 as the Cougars. And do you feel they should recognize that cup in Victoria as part of the Red Wings history as well?
Yeah, heck yeah. Let me start with the Fedorov thing. Like everybody else, what took so long? I think the issue with Mr. Ilitch is well documented, but Mr. Ilitch has been gone for 8.5 years now. So what took so long after 8.5 years? Chris, almost every time the Red Wings posted something on social media, there was some kind of variation of retire 91 or retire Sergey or something like that. I think that they made the right decision based on a restless fan base. I think this is a fan base right now that has watched other teams blow by them in this long and arduous rebuild. I've said it for a couple of years now. I think that the Atlantic Division is the best in all of hockey. I haven't deviated from that. And I think, unfortunately, for the Red Wings, you have a scenario where Toronto isn't going any place. Tampa isn't going any place. Maybe we're going to go win the cup era is past. I don't know. Florida obviously speaks for itself, but you watch Ottawa and Montreal kind of blow past Detroit last year. So that's frustrating. And then you fast forward to this offseason. I mean, I don't know if anybody did more than the Habs did, first with one trade and then with another trade. I don't think anybody did perhaps as much as they did. So this is a situation right now where, and then you look at what the Red Wings have done. I think this was, hey, let's try to make this fan base happy. Let's have a night. on a random Monday in January. The irony of it happening against Carolina isn't lost on me because of the offer sheet and everything that came from that, and certainly the rivalry between then owner Mike Ilitch and then owner Peter Kermanis of Carolina. They had to do it. I wish I could sit here and say they did it 100% for the right reasons. I'm not so sure they did. I'm not so sure they did. I think to immediately try to market it and come out with Fedorov, 5-game packs and selling merchandise and stuff like that. I think this was a diversion for a fan base that is really feeling restless right now, Chris.
Well, 9 years in a row, they've missed the playoffs. Like, I know back in the dead wing era, they missed 7 years in a row, but 9 years in a row. And I'm assuming the media right down Sean and the fan base. Steve Yzerman gets one more year, and if this team doesn't make it next year, do you feel the Red Wings will move on from Steve Yzerman? If
No.
they don't, no chance of it.
No, I don't. I think those roots are too deep. Those roots are. I think if Steve Yzerman decided on his own to leave, that's another thing. I think those roots are too deep. It starts with Mike and Marian Ilitch. Steve Yzerman came here when he was 18 years old. He means so much to the Ilitch family, to this community. Christopher and Steve practically grew up together. They really did. So I think he's going to be afforded every single opportunity to get things turned around. Now, could Steve leave in frustration? I guess. I wouldn't expect it, but I guess that's a possibility. Chris, I could not imagine a scenario where the Detroit Red Wings, owned by Christopher Ilitch, said, Steve, it isn't working. Here's the door. I honestly can't imagine a scenario in which that happens.
In terms of all-time great Red Wing players, Sean, where do you rank Sergei Fedorov up there with the all-time greats?
That's a great question. I think what you have to start with, okay, is I think you have to start with, well, let's talk about guys that were considered the greats of their time. If I said to you, who's the greatest hockey player in the 50s? Somebody might say Gordie Howe. If I said to you, who's the greatest defenseman that you've seen? I think a lot of people would say Nick Lidstrom, okay? As great as Steve Yzerman was, I don't think at any point in time in his career did somebody say, wow, that's the best player at what he does. There was a guy by the name of Wayne Gretzky. There was a guy by the name of Mario Lemieux. I always laugh. I tell people all the time, Steve Yzerman once had 155 points in a year. Phenomenal year, right?
89-90, yep.
88-89, and he finished 44 points behind Mario Lemieux. Like, think about that. Yeah. It's crazy when you think about that. So, I think you have to put those guys near the top. I think you have to put Gordie Howe and you have to put Nick Lidstrom near the top. And then, you can do your work from there. Steve Yzerman, an incredible leader, the Conn Smythe Trophy, the coming here as an 18-year-old and having literally generations grow up with him. I think he's probably in that next thing. And what a guy like Ted Lindsay meant to the franchise. You put him there, and Sergei Fedorov's in that conversation. I think people forget when Yzerman got hurt how absolutely dominant Sergei Fedorov was in 93, 94. And, Scotty Bowman was a guy that said if he played defense all year, he was so good, he might just win a Norris Trophy. So you put him near the top, but not at the top. I mean, just one man's opinion. I think, guys where you're saying that was the greatest that played that position or that was the greatest in his era, I think those guys deserve a kind of a pedestal by themselves.
I put Fedorov in the top 5 Red Wings of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Top 5.
Like I said, I think there's a top tier. The tip of the pyramid are guys like Gordie Howe and Nick Lidstrom, in my opinion.
Overall, do you feel this team has done enough in free agency to get into the playoffs? And do you feel Sebastian Kolsa will be up with the Red Wings this year?
No, and probably. Again, I watched Ottawa pass them by. I watch Montreal pass them by, and then Montreal goes out and signs Dobson and adds Demidov at the end of the year and makes the trade for Bolduc. I think a lot of people are really looking to see how good the Habs can be. I'm not saying that they're going to go win a cup yet, but I think you would expect them to take a big step up. And that's part of the issue right now, the division that the Red Wings play in. I mean, this is the toughest division in hockey. And really, right now, the only team that looks like, they could really struggle is the Boston Bruins, where Sweeney's trying again to do another change on the fly type of scenario. So I don't think they've done enough. And I'll say probably with Sebastian Cossa. I still think that Augustine is the quote unquote goalie of the future. I really, truly do believe that. But, before you get Augustine, before he leaves Michigan State, let's see what Cossa has. And maybe this is, kind of like the scenario that you saw down in Tampa, where he had a Ben Bishop. He could make a deal with a guy like Ben Bishop because he knew he had a Vasilevsky coming in the rear. So let's see if that's eventually how it plays out.
Because to me, it's goaltending. Because if your team has defensive liabilities, a very good goalie can cover up a lot of that and get you into a playoffs. And I'm hoping the Red Wings can get into a playoff spot this year. I was disappointed. I knew Mitch Marner was going to leave the Leafs, but it doesn't even look like the Red Wings were even in one of the teams that he was interested in.
Yeah, and the sad reality is, and I was talking to Darren McCarty about this the other day. Why would a guy come to Detroit right now? Honestly, if all things are being considered equal, and you're playing in a cost certainty league, what would be the advantage to come to Detroit right now? Because I don't think you could say Detroit is an up and coming team right now. That doesn't mean that they can't be, that Casper can't take a step, that ASP can't jump into the lineup and provide an immediate spark, kind of like Lane Hudson did last year in Montreal. That doesn't mean that Lucas Raymond still can't take a step, and Mo Seider can't take a step. But right now, all I can do is base it on what we've seen so far. I don't think that anybody would categorize the Red Wings as, boy, they're this close. I really don't think people look at the team like that right now.
And I know we're going to wrap this up, Sean. Just quick thoughts on the Pistons. And do you feel that they've done enough in the offseason to get this team over the hump and maybe to the second round next year?
I think so. And keep it in perspective. I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't think that they're in a position to supplant Cleveland. I think best case scenario is probably a 4 seed, maybe a 5 seed, but I'll be a slappy and say 4 seed. And maybe, you can knock off that 5 seed and then take your chance against whoever number 1 is in the East. But yeah, that's the next step in this, no doubt, is finding a way to win that playoff series, maybe a rematch with the Knicks. That would be fun. But yeah, I think that's the next step in this maturation process.
Right now on all the teams, obviously the Lions, the Tigers, would you put the Pistons ahead of the Red Wings right now in terms of teams in Detroit?
No doubt about it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no doubt about that. The Red Wings are clearly number 4 right now, and you made reference to it earlier. I mean, this is a franchise record playoff drought right now, yep. and this isn't the division to be acting that part. It really isn't, with teams getting better.
I just don't want to see it go to what it's like in Buffalo. The Sabres, Buffalo's a great hockey city like Detroit, but they've missed 14 years in a row, and their fan base is kind of getting tired. They're lucky to draw 9,000-10,000 a game, and I hope that doesn't happen in Detroit at some point.
It's a shame. I grew up an Adams division guy. I loved watching the Adams division back in the day. So I saw a lot of Buffalo Sabres hockey, and who can forget the old Odd? And it's a shame that they haven't been able to get things right. I mean, with all the talent that they've had there, and all the prospects that they've had there in the past 14 years, they just can't seem to get it right.
Starts with ownership and hiring the right management in place. You can have talented athletes, but if you don't have the right management and the ownership, you're not going to win long term.
Factual statement. Seen it all the time in every sport, and hopefully better time are coming for the Sabres.
Absolutely. And Sean, just before we wrap this up, you will be back for your 16th year as the play-by-play announcer for Wayne State Warrior football.
Yeah, it's incredible. I've had so much fun. Division II football is a heck of a lot of fun, and of course, former Michigan Wolverine Tyrone Wheatley is the head coach, and the GLIAC is the toughest division in D2 football. Ferris State has kind of shown that the last few years, winning all the natties that they have. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. First game is September 4th.
And you're going to be your broadcast will be available live stream too, right?
Yeah, yep. We do that. The Wayne State Sports Network. They put them on YouTube. They put them on, all the podcast information places. And yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I've been fortunate, Chris, to I did games for Carolina back in the day, the Hurricanes, and I've done a lot of college football, and it's really a passion for me. And so to be there for 16 years and so close to my home is really cool.
Without getting into politics, I'm hoping one day to get back over to Michigan, and I definitely would like to come to a Wayne State game at some point in the future as well.
I would love to have you. You give me a heads up, and I'll make sure that you get yourself a pass.
My cousins in Taylor, Michigan are big Michigan Wolverine fans, so if they're watching, they're a huge Michigan fan. And speaking of Michigan, before we wrap this up, what are your thoughts on their penalty? Do you find the NCAA was too harsh, or do you find that was fair?
No, you knew they weren't going to do anything. I say this all the time, okay? And I know somebody's going to look at my hat, and we know what happened. We all know what happened. Congratulations. You won a national championship. Apologize for nothing. We know what Connor Stallions was doing. It's documented. We know that it provided a boost. You won a national championship. Apologize for nothing. I mean that. I joke all the time. I wish, Chris, that my school, I wish Michigan State would do that. You know what I mean? Because I would apologize for nothing. I didn't think they'd do much of it. It didn't surprise me that they didn't do much of it. And, I always laugh when somebody says, well, we're gonna take down the banner, or we're gonna take wins away. Well, does that take the little memory chip out of your brain as well that watched you win a national championship? It's silly.
No.
Michigan, hold your number one finger in the air, put on those 2023 national champion shirts. You have nothing to apologize for, as long as you acknowledge what happened, right? And that's the way and most Michigan fans that I know kind of go, yeah, I know. And I was like, okay, we're cool. Put up the number one finger. You're national champions.
Quick thoughts on Michigan State. What's the expectations for your Spartans?
I pray to God that they make it back to a bowl. I promised my daughter when she started school there, I said, whatever bowl game they go to, we're going to go to. And we're 0 for 2 now. They have made a bowl game the last couple of years. Her junior year starts. I'm hoping for 6-6. I don't care if it's Duke's Mayo Bowl. I don't care if it's a Pinstripe Bowl. I don't care if it's in our backyard here at Ford Field. I think that should be the ultimate goal for Coach Smith and the Spartans this year. It's going to be tough, though. Their schedule's a bear, and I think Aiden Childs, their quarterback, has to take a very big step.
It's a great time of the year right now. I've got the NFL starting up. The CFL is 3/4 done their season. College football in Canada and the States is starting up. And then you got baseball and you got hockey and basketball. So to me, this is the best time of the year right now.
I love it. Absolutely love it. When all the lights are go, I miss, especially when I was working in the OHL, you started maybe next week seeing some of those exhibition games. Pop up. And I miss that like crazy, but it'll all be here before you know it.
Absolutely. And Sean, where can my audience follow you on social media, and how can they turn into your weekly podcast on the air as well as Woodward Sports?
Oh, you're very kind. You can check out the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. It's all digital. And, I'm Sean P. Bally on Twitter and I think Facebook as well. I don't even know. And we have all that stuff up there. I just like doing it for fun. I've been very fortunate to be in this business for 30 years now, Chris, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't realize how fortunate indeed I am.
Congratulations on the 30 years.
Thank you very much. It's I can't imagine working for a living. That's for sure.
Sean, I want to say thank you so much for coming on a fourth time and giving us over 40 minutes today. And hopefully one day we'll get back to the States and back to Michigan. And I would definitely like to come and see a Wayne State game as well. Maybe even the Spartans too.
Anytime, Chris, you let me know if you can do that. And the first round's on me, my friend.
All right. Well, Sean, have a great day. And when's your next episode of Off the Air?
Monday, Shep and I,
Mondays.
Matt Shepard, of course, former Tiger broadcaster. I mean, he's been around forever as well. He and I do a podcast 8:00 on Monday night. So we're just having fun together. We're longtime friends. Very blessed to have a guy like Shep as a friend and to do things like that.
And maybe before the Eagles and Lions match up at the link this year, I'd like to have you come back on and preview the Lions and Eagles, because I think we like to see these two teams in the NFC Championship game this year.
Yeah, two of the best general managers in the league. I give full credit to Howie. I think he is the best general manager in the league. I really do. He stayed one step ahead of everybody else. But Chris, anytime you call, if I can make it, I will.
Thank you so much, Sean, and we'll talk to you soon. And I'll send you the audio, video, and some reels and clips after as well.
All right, bud. You take care now.
You too. Thanks, Sean. All right, everybody. That concludes season 11. Episode 28, overall 578 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with the great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I did an interview with Trent Lawson from the Kitchener Panthers of the Intercounty Baseball League. Kitchener and Welland start game 1 of their best of 5 Intercounty Baseball League series tonight. And this interview was done this past Sunday at Jack Couch Park in Kitchener after Trent Lawson's 3 home run, 6 RBI performance against Welland. And I'm looking forward to game 1 tonight. So just bear with me and we'll play this episode. Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Yeah, I know. Chris Palme here live at Jack Couch Park in Kitchener after today's thrilling win by the Kitchener Panthers 11-10 over the Welland Jackfish. And I'm talking to my Kitchener Panthers player of the game, Trent Lawson, who had 3 home runs and at least 6 RBIs in today's win. Trent, just thoughts on the win today against a very good Welland team.
No, it's a win to show that we can compete against them. You know, our last game wasn't really the greatest, but we definitely showed some things today, and that's what we needed to do, especially going into the game competing against them in the first round of the playoffs.
Trent, gotta ask you this. I know it was a team game and a team win, but when's the last time you had 3 home runs in a baseball game?
Never happened.
When you had your home runs at those at-bats, were you looking for a specific pitch?
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking hit the right center gap, and that's kind of it.
What makes Jack Couch Park such a great place to hit as a batter?
The wind is always in your favor, no matter where you hit the ball's always at least going out somewhere. So that's why it's good.
Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself, and is there a story behind the number 4?
There's no real story about number 4. I mean, my dad was 49 when he played, and so I just took the first number 4. But yeah, I'm from Calgary, and happy to be out here.
Who were some of your early baseball influences and got you into this game?
Obviously my dad. That was a big one, and then. Like Mike Trout, grew up around when he was coming in, Bryce Harper, some of the older guys like Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. Those are some good guys to follow as well.
How much would you say you've evolved and improved as a baseball player, even this past season?
I definitely feel like I've improved a lot. I've definitely felt the adversity there for a bit. I was in a very, very tough slump, and then working the way out of it. So I learned to deal with adversity very well.
How important is it to have a strong mindset as a baseball player too in this sport?
Oh, it's huge because you're gonna fail all the time. Like even the Hall of Famers fail 70% of the time. So you just got to keep a strong mindset. Wanting to get better every day, and just keep working.
What are your thoughts on facing Welland in the first round, best of 5 series?
It's going to be a good series. It's probably going to be a lot of back and forth. We're going to see some good pitching, but we also have pretty good pitching as well, so it's going to be a good one.
What makes them so dangerous to face in the first round?
I think their pitching is probably one of the most dangerous ones. But they swing the bat really well too. So if they get hot, they're hot for a bit.
For fans that haven't been to a Panthers game or an IBL game yet this season, tell them why they should come out to Game 2 here on Friday night at Jack Couch Park here in Kitchener.
Oh, it's a fun atmosphere. It's good atmosphere. The fans are good here. And we're gonna play some good baseball. So that's something to look out for.
What's one word to describe yourself as a ball player?
I don't know. Just taking the time. I would say take the time.
What's a fun fact about Trent Lawson the fans might not know about you?
I've had two uncles that have played in this league back in the 90s. So yeah, that's a fun fact.
Fun fact about me is I was a bat boy for the Guelph Royals in 1985, 40 years ago when they were using aluminum bats. But Trent, for our audience, where can they find you on social media? Best way of contacting you?
On Instagram, T-Law and then BSB, or T Lawson BSB on Instagram.
Well, Trent, I want to say congrats on the big win today and the big performance with 3 home runs and at least 6 RBIs and continued success. And good luck against Welland next week in the best of 5.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time.
That was Trent Lawson with the Kitchener Panthers of the Inter-County Baseball League after their 11-10 regular season final over the Welland Jackfish. And Kitchener Welland now play in the IBL finals, semifinals, best of 5 tonight. Kitchener Welland at 7:15 first pitch tonight. You can watch the game on the Wellington Jackfish YouTube channel. Game 2 of the series will be Friday night, 7:30 at Jack Couch Park, and you can watch or attend you can watch the game on the Panthers YouTube channel, or you can get tickets at KitchenerPanthers.com. KitchenerPanthers.com if you want to go catch Game 2 in Kitchener Friday night at 7:30. Game 3 will be Saturday night at Welland at 6:15, and if there's a Game 4, it'll be on Tuesday, August 26th, 7:30 at Jack Couch Park as well. Check out the Inter-County Baseball League's website, the IBL.ca, or the Kitchener Panthers website, KitchenerPanthers.com. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I have another announcement to make. I actually got a couple more shows coming up, and I have a show coming up tonight. The Argo Bounce podcast show, episode 9 with Nick Small and myself will be tonight, which is Thursday, August 21st, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 on the West Coast. Nick and I are going to talk about the Argos' latest 2020 loss to the Elks, and we're going to preview the upcoming Argos BC C&E game this Saturday at BMO Field, 3 o'clock kickoff. You can get tickets at argonauts.ca or watch the game on TSN or TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. So if you're a fan of the CFL, Toronto Argonauts, the Argo Bounce podcast show, episode 9, tonight at 9 o'clock here on all these platforms as well. And also, the next Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, is going to be on Friday, August 22nd at 8 p.m. with my special guest, Angelina Vincent. She is a recording artist and songwriter out of the province of Quebec. So please make sure you check out Angelina Vincent tomorrow night, Friday, August 22nd at 8 o'clock. And yours truly will be down at BMO Field Saturday afternoon as freelance media covering the Argos BC game. You can check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some pre- and post-game interviews as well. And again, I want to say thank you to Sean Baligian from Woodward Sports and host of his own podcast show called Off the Air Podcast with Matt Shepard. And he's also the longtime play-by-play voice of Wayne State football and used to be involved with the OHL's Plymouth Whalers. So Sean Baligian, thank you so much for coming on here today as well. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this on live stream, Facebook LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, and all my audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. So make sure you subscribe and follow me on my platforms as well. We have NFL preseason tonight. We've got Pittsburgh and Carolina at 8 o'clock, and the Patriots and Giants at 8 o'clock as well. Pittsburgh, Carolina at 8, Patriots and Giants at 8 o'clock. And the Philadelphia Eagles will wrap up their preseason schedule Friday, August 22nd at MetLife Stadium against the New York Jets at 7:30. Highly unlikely to see any of the starters play in that game as well. The Eagles open up their Super Bowl defense on Thursday, September 4th at Lincoln Financial Field when the Dallas Cowboys come into Philly to see the Eagles put up their second Super Bowl banner as well. And the Eagles announced Johnny Wilson, one of the receivers, is going to be out for the year. And they also acquired John Mechie from the Houston Texans as well. He is the brother of Edmonton Elks cornerback Royce Mechie. So John Mechie, who came over from the Texans, I think was a good move. Johnny Wilson is going to be out for the year. So Eagles and Jets tomorrow, 7:30. You can listen to the game on 94.1 WIP in Philadelphia with Merle Reese and Mike Quick. And Devin Caney, who's their new sideline reporter and does a great job as well. That is about it, guys, for today. Want to say thank you to both of my guests, Mary Morgan, a voiceover artist out of Texas, for coming on, and Sean Baligian, a longtime Detroit radio and media personality, and now the co-host of Woodward Sports. I'm going to say this again. Woodward Sports with Maz from Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can check out woodwardsports.com or their YouTube channel as well. And that is about it, guys. I will see you guys back here tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 on the West Coast, for episode 9 of the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself. And also, I want to say thank you to my sponsor of this show, Barry Cullen Chevrolet, for coming aboard as well. And if you're looking for a new or used vehicle, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. And if you're a business out there and you're looking to advertise through live stream, check out CDP Media Productions. You can contact Chris Palme at cpalme19@gmail.com or send me a DM. My prices are very competitive and fair, and I do have 500,000 viewers on my YouTube channel, and my audience is growing. So if you're a business out there, you're looking to advertise, please consider CDP Media Productions, aka Chris Palme, and look forward to working with you in your business. And that wraps up today. We'll see you guys back here for part 3 tonight. This time, the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself talking Argos and some news around the CFL as well. All right. Have a great afternoon, everybody. And again, thank you to Mary Morgan and Sean Baligian for being my guests today here on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And again, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. We'll be back on Friday night at 8 o'clock with Angelina Vincent, a recording artist and songwriter from Quebec. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show.